Are you sure that what you think is really yours? Have you ever stopped to consider that the greatest enemies of your mind might actually live inside of you? What if I told you that many of the thoughts you carry aren't even yours? In this video, you'll discover how Stoicism can be the antidote to anxiety, mental noise, and the endless need for validation. Few people realize it, but your mind might be silently manipulated every single day. The time has come to break free. The enemies of your mind are closer than you think, and Stoicism can set you free. You know that tightness in your chest that comes out of nowhere, or that constant inner pressure, as if you're never good enough. I don't know if this happens to you, but for a long time, I lived like that, thinking it was anxiety, lack of focus, insecurity. But in truth, it was just too much noise. Mental noise. Thoughts I believed were mine, but had actually been planted from the outside. Family, social media, invisible standards. And the worst part, I didn't even realize how much this was pulling me away from my authenticity. If you feel like you're always trying to please, to match, to react to everything, this video is for you. Because here, spirituality meets Stoicism, and together, they help you awaken your true self, far from anxiety, comparison, and autopilot mode. The goal isn't to give you magic formulas, but to provoke, to invite, to an inner silence that few ever experience, a path of self-knowledge, emotional discipline, and most importantly, emotional freedom. You're not alone. Many people feel this every day, and today, we start to change that. Are you sure that what you think is really yours? That question seems simple, but it holds the power to dismantle entire mental castles. The truth is, many times, our minds become a messy drawer, full of inherited ideas, unfiltered opinions, limiting beliefs clinging to our identity like old t-shirts we never had the courage to throw out. Since childhood, you've been told you need to become someone, to achieve, to prove yourself. But, prove it to whom? Who said that success means owning the latest car, having the perfect body, the flawless social media feed? Do you even remember when you decided those things mattered? Or did someone else decide for you? This is where the idea of your inner Epictetus comes in. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's greatest thinkers, said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them. And what if what's disturbing you isn't even yours? What if what you carry as truth is, in fact, just an echo of someone else's voice?" Many people live as if they're on a stage, but the audience is invisible and relentless. Every decision, every choice is made not from true desire, but from a need for approval, often silent, but always suffocating. That's the trap, the colonized mind, a mind driven by emotional triggers that have never been questioned. You're afraid of failing, but failing according to whom? You want to be accepted. But why is being accepted more important than being yourself? Spirituality, when combined with Stoicism, invites us to this spiritual awakening. The awakening of someone who begins to see that authenticity isn't just a cute Instagram quote. It's an internal, silent reconstruction, like removing mold from an old wall. And it starts when you allow yourself to stop. Observe. Question. Is this thought really mine? Or was it taught, imposed, copied? Try this exercise today. Grab a sheet of paper and write down the 3 thoughts that bother you the most each day. Then ask each one, are you really mine? What you discover could change everything. And it's precisely when we begin questioning these origins that the next step emerges. Because it's not enough to simply recognize inherited thoughts. We must learn to deal with the emotions they bring. And that's where one of the most essential pillars of emotional freedom comes in: emotional self-discipline. We grew up hearing that we need to have emotional control. But is control really the right word? Maybe you've tried to hold yourself back during an argument. You held back the tears, pretended everything was fine. But inside, it felt like trying to carry a leaky bucket. The harder you gripped it, the more balance you lost. The truth is, Stoicism isn't about repressing emotion. It's about guiding emotion. It's about being aware of your emotional triggers and not being a hostage to them. It's like being in a boat on a stormy sea. You don't control the wind, the storm, or the current, but you do control the rudder. You adjust the sails. You choose the direction, even in chaos. That's true emotional freedom. And it doesn't shout. It doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. It acts with firmness, without drama, without show. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." It's not about what happens to you. It's about what you do with what happens. Want a real-life example? You're in traffic. Another driver cuts you off in an absurd way. The impulse comes: honk, yell, react. But if you breathe, if you create that 3-second pause, you realize it's not worth it. Not because you're passive, but because you're free. Free from being pulled like an emotional puppet. That's emotional self-discipline. Knowing that not every battle needs to be fought. Having the maturity to choose when to be silent, when to wait, and when to act. Not drowning in the first wave life throws at you. And do you know what the greatest power you can achieve in this world is? Mastering yourself. Because when you learn to adjust your internal rudder, even the storm becomes opportunity. Pause here. Take a deep breath. What has been throwing you off balance lately? And what would happen if, next time, you just observed instead of reacting? And this maturity starts with the simple act of protecting your mind. But how do you protect your mind in a world that's always screaming? The answer might be closer than you think, and it might begin with a habit that seems harmless today: your relationship with the digital world. Let me ask you honestly, what's the first thing you do when you wake up? If your answer is, grab my phone, you're not alone. Millions of people do the same, without even thinking. But what seems like an innocent gesture is actually like opening your front door and letting dozens of voices shout into your home first thing in the morning. Notifications, comparisons, urgency. All this before you've even brushed your teeth. This is the new invisible mental noise. It doesn't yell in your ear, but it whispers softly all day long. You're behind. You're not doing enough. Look at that person's body. You need to post more. It's a constant intoxication, only it's emotional. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate what I call inner silence. It's not about isolating yourself from the world. It's about choosing what comes in. It's about realizing that what you consume consumes you. Have you heard of digital detox? But I'm not talking about deleting all your social media and moving to the woods, unless you want to, of course. I'm talking about creating micro-moments of presence. Simple things like, number 1, having screen-free hours. Number 2, spending the first 5 minutes of your day in silence, focusing on your breath. Number 3, keeping your phone out of the bedroom. Number 4, walking while looking at the sky, not your screen. It might seem small, but it makes all the difference. Because little by little, you start to shield yourself. You begin making space for your true self to emerge. Without interference, without filters, without the noise. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate what I call inner silence. Not isolation, selection. It's realizing that what you consume consumes you. It's like cleaning a dirty mirror. At first, you barely recognize yourself. But as it gets cleaner, your reflection starts coming back. Practical spirituality, together with spiritual awakening, invites you to this, to remember who you are, before the world piled everything on top. So tell me, if you gave yourself the gift of 1 hour a day with no distractions, what might you discover inside yourself? Try waking up tomorrow and spending the first 5 minutes of the day with your eyes closed. Breathing, feeling, no outside input, just you, with yourself. And gradually, that space of silence begins to strengthen something very important. Your identity, your self-esteem. And that's what we're going to talk about next. True self-esteem doesn't make noise. It doesn't need likes or approval. It doesn't survive on applause. It lives through aligned action. You know that feeling of being at peace with yourself, even when no one's watching. That's what we're talking about here. It's not about feeling like the best. It's about knowing you did what needed to be done, that you kept your word, that you were you. In Stoicism, there's a Greek concept called arete. Arete means excellence, but not excellence as in being the best in the world. It means being your best, getting closer every day to the best version of yourself. Imagine a tall building. If the foundation is solid, it can withstand wind, storms, even earthquakes. Now picture one of those inflatable tube men at gas stations. Flashy, moves a lot, grabs attention, but any little breeze knocks it over. Which one are you being? Most people try to inflate their self-esteem with external things: body, status, approval. But Stoic self-esteem is born from self-knowledge, emotional discipline, and quiet consistency. It's like an athlete who trains in the dark, far from the spotlight. He doesn't need anyone to watch, because he knows the value of what he's doing. Want a practical path to strengthen your self-esteem? Simple. Keep small promises to yourself. Tiny things, like waking up at the time you said you would, reading 3 pages a day, drinking water before coffee, meditating for 2 minutes. These are small but powerful gestures, because every time you follow through, you're sending a silent message to your mind. I can trust myself. And that, my friend, is priceless. Dwight L. Moody once said, "Character is what you are in the dark." In other words, far from the cameras, far from the internet, far from the eyes of the world. That's where real self-esteem lives. In the invisible, in the silence, in what you do when no one is watching. Want a practical path to strengthen your self-esteem? Simple. Keep small promises to yourself. Tiny things. Stoic self-esteem is born from self-knowledge, emotional discipline, and quiet consistency. And do you know the soil where it grows best? Silence. Not the silence of absence, but of presence. Not everything that hits you deserves a response. In the noisy world we live in, silence has become an act of rebellion. Everyone wants to have an opinion on everything, respond quickly, justify themselves, defend their point of view. But the wise choose silence as a strategy, not as weakness. The truth is, most of the arguments you face daily, that passive-aggressive message in the group chat, that subtle jab on social media, that ego battle at work, are like flies in the room. They buzz, they bother, but they don't deserve your energy. Stoicism teaches us that reacting isn't always power. Sometimes, true power is not reacting. It's pausing for 3 seconds before responding emotionally. It's taking a deep breath when all you want is to explode. It's choosing silence as armor. Silence is not absence. It's refined presence. Want a practical example? Next time someone provokes you, breathe. Count to 3 in your mind. And before answering, ask yourself, does this help me grow, or just feed my ego? You'll be surprised at how much energy you save, and more than that, how much clarity you gain. Few people understand the true power of silence, because silence isn't empty, it's full of presence. Presence that heals, that cleanses, that frees. And when practiced daily, silence becomes a shield against modern anxiety. Gradually, inner silence becomes your foundation, your home, your temple. And in that temple, not just anything is allowed in. So I ask you, when was the last time you chose silence and felt peace because of it? Few understand the true power of silence, because silence isn't empty, it's full of presence. Presence that you cultivate, and that protects your peace like an invisible shield. And after all of this, comes the most important question. What will you do with this knowledge? We've walked through 5 powerful paths today. We talked about the illusion of authenticity, about the thoughts we inherit and never question. We explored the power of emotional self-discipline, the digital detox, the quiet value of true self-esteem, and finally, we dove into the wisdom of silence. Now tell me, which of these enemies do you need to silence today? That limiting belief, that dominating impulse, that screen that drains you? Pick one, just one, and observe what happens if you simply stop. Go silent. Listen to what your true self has to say. Don't expect a massive transformation overnight. Spiritual awakening is a process, not an event. But today, right now, you can take one step, and that step can be the beginning of a new way of living. More conscious, more free, more you. Try applying one of these ideas in the next 24 hours. No big deal. No performance. Just observe. You'll feel the difference. This isn't about living without emotion, but about living above emotion, with courage, with presence, and with authenticity. If these words touched you, I invite you to take the next step on this journey of self-discovery. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep growing spiritually with us. Share in the comments your experiences with the subtle influence of the enemies of your mind and how they've become teachers on your path to awakening. Let's grow together, not just in mind, but in heart. And if you want to go deeper into this process, check out our video, Want to Control Your Mind? Watch this now, which will help you better understand how reality unfolds. Peace and light.